Hey guys, QuentinForFandroid.com, and this is our official review of the limited edition version of the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1. Samsung had an original Galaxy Tab that was a lot thicker than the one we have here, but after the iPad 2's release, they sought to make it thinner and lighter than that. As you can see up against HTC's Fire tablet, it's a lot thinner, and this is the case with many of the devices on the market today. It's also very light, and it makes it very comfortable to hold in one hand, either in landscape mode or in portrait mode. Because of its size, it still won't be as discreet as carrying a 7-inch tablet, but it will still be just as comfortable. The material used on the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 mainly consists of plastic, but that's what contributes to its lightness. As you can see on the back of our I/O tab, there's a pattern of Androids, but this will not be the case on the retail version. You'll either get an all-white back or an all-black back. As far as specs go, we have a 10.1-inch 1280 by 800 IPS display. Also on the front, you can see a front-facing camera right there, and there are light and proximity sensors to the left of that. On the top of the device, we have your power button, your volume rocker up and down, and your 3.5mm headphone jack. You'll see the speaker grill on the left and right-hand side of the device, and they produce decent sound for how small they are. Just listen to how good the sound is. You won't fill the room with great sound with these, but considering how small they are, they do a great job. As you can see, besides the speaker, there is nothing on the sides of the device. On the bottom is Samsung's proprietary connector for charging your data sync, and to the left and right of those are dock connectors. And then to the right of that, you can see the microphone hole. And on the back is your 5-megapixel camera with flash. The 7,000 milliamp hour battery inside is not user replaceable, unfortunately. In fact, if you try to take the device apart, you might break it. The battery inside lasts all day. In fact, you can get about 10 hours out of it if you're watching video constantly, and if you're using it moderately, you can get about 3 days. Also inside is 1 gig of RAM, 32 gigs of internal storage, and NVIDIA's 1 GHz Tegra 2 dual-core processor. On this Wi-Fi only model, there's no SD card slot, unfortunately, but we hear those will be included on the carrier-enabled versions coming soon. Overall, I can't say much about the hardware because there's not much going on with it, but that's what I like about it. There are not a lot of moving parts that can get you confused or that can break over time. The weight and thinness alone are enough to put this tablet at the top of your list if you're out shopping for one. So now that we've gotten a good look at the hardware, let's take a look at the software. The model we got at Google I/O has Android 3.0.1, but we're sure this will be upgradable to 3.1 when it comes out. Also different from the retail version is the lack of TouchWiz, which includes the live panel widgets and that mini apps tray. You can be sure that this will be different on the retail version though. Many of Samsung's other pre-installed applications are gone too, but we do still have Music Hub, Pulse, Quick Office, and more. The Tab 10.1 came with the stock Honeycomb keyboard, but Samsung also included their own keypad. Their keypad doesn't give much incentive to use it over Honeycomb's default, unless you're just a fan of light colors. Honeycomb runs smoothly on the Tab 10.1, and a lot of that is helped by NVIDIA's dual-core Tegra 2 processor. It can still keep up with Honeycomb's demands. Unfortunately, the software isn't all great here on the Tab 10.1. For instance, YouTube has a tendency to lag in portrait mode, which is funny considering it doesn't lag at all in landscape. Not only is it bad when scrolling through comments, but it can sometimes affect video performance. The browser also locks up on me from time to time, preventing me from actually scrolling through content and clicking on links. We think it's a problem with the WebKit viewer because the browser itself doesn't really crash when that happens. Music Hub can also be very buggy and have a tendency to not respond after a few minutes of use, which usually results in a forced close. A majority of the apps in the market not optimized for Honeycomb work great, but not all of them cooperate. I maintain that the biggest thing keeping Honeycomb back is a lack of apps, but I'm sure that'll change soon. Overall, the software is quite ordinary. It's Honeycomb and it works great, but we've seen it before, and the things Samsung have included don't work as well as they should, and even some things in Honeycomb don't, such as WebKit crashing on me from time to time. As for the camera, the 5-megapixel shooter on this one isn't even as great as the ones in their phones, which is quite disappointing. It can have problems focusing sometimes, and even in moderate lighting situations, the images don't always come out clear. The same can absolutely be said for video, and the front-facing camera is no better. They provide many options, focus modes, and shooting modes, but I still can't get over the fact that there is no zoom. I'm not as impressed with the camera as I thought I'd be, considering their good track record on phones. In fact, that's probably the only complaint I have with the Tab 10.1's hardware. In terms of thinness and lightness, this is the best hardware on the market. The software they've included here on the I/O edition of the Tab is stock Honeycomb, and while it's not without its problems, it still is quite solid and gets the job done. We weren't at all impressed by the camera on this thing, which is unfortunate because that's a huge missed opportunity. Even with that though, you wouldn't want to pass this one up in stores while looking at tablets. The Samsung Galaxy Tab is available starting June 8th for $500. Go on to Fandroid.com for our full review.